Your Humanities Half Hour is brought to you by the Northern Marianas Humanities Council.
Hoppaday, Zantiro. Welcome to Your Humanities Half Hour. I'm Catherine Perry. As part of the Trust Territory of the Pacific Islands, the Northern Marianas, along with the other islands of Micronesia, had the opportunity for self-government. And in 1972, they began negotiations that eventually led to a covenant to establish the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands in political union with the United States. Our guest today was a member of the Marianas Political Status Commission that negotiated that covenant. He's also a former lieutenant governor of our CNMI, Pete A. Tenorio. Mr. Tenorio, welcome to Your Humanities Half Hour.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, you know, Commonwealth Covenant Day is coming up, and we're here to talk about the covenant, but there's a particular group of people you hope will tune in during our chat today.
Yes, that's true. We, first of all, let me just mention something about the celebration of the covenant. Every year, we're supposed to celebrate a very historic event that happened to our islands, and that is the celebration of the covenant, when President Ford signed it in 1975 to bring us into the American political family. This morning, I would like very much to focus on informing, especially our younger generation. Inform them, and I hope they will tune in to listen to some of the anecdotes that I'll be providing them, as well as some historical facts and some other matters, issues that happened during the negotiation. I hope that our young generation would take the time to study that at school and independently, so they can have a much better understanding of where we were and where we are and where we're going with this new arrangement called the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands in political union with the United States of America.
So some of the islands of Micronesia chose different statuses for the associated states of Micronesia. Palau became its own republic. Why did our people think that Commonwealth status would be the best option?
Well, you know, the history of our desire to be self-governing actually started a long time ago. After the Second World War, we were exposed to the American system of government, political development, as well as the economic aspect of social development of the United States. And our people actually, one of the first priorities was to improve themselves, to be able to tap on good health services, good jobs. To be able to get their family moving forward after so many years of hardship. And so the idea that our ancestors, our older generation had developed was actually a very old one. And it has also to do with our relationship with Guam in terms of our regional ethnic background. We were related somehow, so many of our people from the Northern Marianas district migrate to Guam to take advantage of the opportunities for education, as well as the economic enhancement of the family. So there is a tremendous drive to improve themselves. Our older generation really did not focus too much on what kind of arrangement with Guam, but all they want to do is be part of the United States.
And I think a lot of people living in the Marianas now can relate to that, having come from other countries to our islands to better their lives and to better the lives of their children. During the course of the negotiations, was there, and the facts are in the history books, but did you really understand the magnitude of what you were doing for the people of the islands at that time?
Yes, as I become more immersed into the political discussions with United States representative and staff, Ambassador Williams, for example, and I've been interacting with our own delegates, our own commission members, which consist of about 15 persons, representing individual entities. Yes, we develop. I begin to develop a much more appreciation of what I'm about to do. Deep down, as because I was brought up in Saipan, the Marianas district, and I've interacted with many Micronesians throughout my younger days. I had my ideas about being a united Micronesia. I was very strong with that. And when I became a part of the Congress of Micronesia as a senator, I begin to observe something else. During the political status discussions among the Congress of Micronesia, the future political status of Micronesia group, and the United States government, there were many different issues brought up that in my mind at that time, I begin to suspect that maybe a unity or one Micronesia is not the right thing to do, because even the Micronesians themselves, during the time that I was a senator in the Congress of Micronesia, I observed there was already a lot of internal infighting and a lot of conflict among themselves. So, one thing that really got me to change and to support the independent negotiation between the U.S. and the Northern Marianas is the fact that I learned, and this is really something that people don't really know because it's not published. But as I observe, especially Palau and the Marshals, Senator Roman Mutu and Senator Kabua. Senator Mutu, both for him and Senator Kabua told me in very open way. They says, Pete, the Northern Marianas should start thinking for themselves, because the Palau is not going to be a part of Micronesia. And even Senator Kabua also said the same thing, that the Marshals will not be a part of Micronesia. So we just have to leave it at that and go on our own, and in a very nice way, not to try to create a conflict among ourselves, but to give me advice as to how best to plan for our people, my people, the people I represent. And I don't regret now that this is what I did in the end. And I had some flack with this among the constituents, in the Marianas, because some of them figured that, hey, well, let's stick to become a part of Micronesia as one entity. And about the history too. The Carolinians, many of them feel that we need to stick together. And understandably, because there is ancestral relationship. Yeah. And they respect that relationship, and they want it to last it. And I understand it very well. Now we tried integrating with Guam, but Guam says no. So we decided to go our way and direct negotiation with the U.S.
We're chatting today with Pete A. Tenorio, a member of the Marianas Political Status Commission that negotiated the covenant to establish the CNMI, and we'll be back with more after this break.
In Northern Marianas Humanities Council, Bula Guinahanya puri historian Marianas dan kultura. Sinyon soda SCCNN Formacion gi zon mami website nmhcouncil.org, pat bisita gi YouTube, pat Facebook. Guahaloque diferentes clases la bluna sinya un fan. In Northern Marianas Humanities Council has uzura todo I experiencia tautau.
Welcome back to your Humanities Half Hour. Mr. Tenorio, I do apologize. You have a lifetime of stories to tell, and I'm asking you to tell it in 30 minutes. Thank you. During the course of the negotiations, is there any particular issue that you feel was one of the most important that you felt like, I need to get this right? I feel strongly about this. This is going to have a very big impact on us. Of course, the entire covenant was important, but was there any particular issue you felt strongly about?
Well, yes. There is one issue that I thought was not addressed too well, or the commission actually did not pursue to its ultimate end. In other words, they didn't pursue it enough to convince me that that we did our best. And this was the idea, the concept of self-government, and how the United States Constitution applies to the Northern Marianas as a Commonwealth. Okay, we recognize that the U.S. and its territories, outlying territories like Guam, Samoa, the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, especially are areas that do not have the same kind of rights that they have under the U.S. Constitution. As a matter of fact, the U.S. under the U.S. Constitution, under the provision of Article 432, which is the plenary powers of Congress, give the U.S. government, U.S. Congress, the right to have powers over the territories. And I'm worried about that, because if that's the case, then what is the definition of self-government? The issue of self-government and the concept will be completely eroded because of that fact alone, that the U.S. has plenary powers. And if you check the U.S. Constitution, the territories of the United States are considered the properties of the United States. And that's what I'm trying to... I learned all of these things reading up a little bit of the history. So I'm worried about that, because, if that's the case, then the U.S. can enact any laws it wants to, and you have and the territories have no recourse. I mean, not recourse, but no choice at all. So I want to safeguard against that. So what we did was we negotiated to limit the enactment by the U.S. Congress on laws, public laws that would affect the territories on the Commonwealth at that time, because we're negotiating that. So we come up with an agreement that the U.S., if it considers to enact, it has to mention the Northern Marianas specifically in the law to make it applicable, and that is already a restriction on the part of the U.S. And there are certain other laws of the United States that do not apply to the, at least to the Commonwealth. The land alienation also was an important discussion. Mm-hmm. So these are restrictions that was made, and the U.S. Reluctantly agreed to that. I mean, they're saying now that, they are the ones that pushed it. No, actually we did. Mm. We pushed it because there were some of us that feel very strong about protecting the land, because we noticed the history of some of the areas like Guam, Hawaii. In most cases, they lost their land to a private ownership for corporations, sugarcane industry, for example, and other development. So we learned those things, and we thought maybe we're doing the right thing by alienating the land to to only for Northern Marianas descent.
So, on the topic of public education, both to the local community before they voted to ratify the covenant, and your efforts to educate Congress on what the covenant would mean, how did that go?
I was appointed by the commission, the Marianas Status Commission, to be the one in charge of the public education program of the covenant, to be able to go out and have open public discussion about the covenant, the pros and cons of the provisions of the covenant. There are 10 of them, 10 articles, and they're all complicated. But we did have quite a bit, I think, of participation, especially from
I
the
heard
ladies
it got
group.
heated.
Especially from the ladies group, and if I say something that is not too nice, I'm sorry, but there were some that were, they're very
Outspoken.
and shooting me from all over. Very outspoken, and I appreciate that, because that's the way a public education should be. Open, no bar hole on anything that has to do with the covenant. So they asked me all kinds of questions. And there was a group there, an official group called the Ladies, Young Ladies Association or something. And there were the members there. Some of them are still around, and that participated. And I will not forget, because I was the chairman of the Public Education Committee, and at night time during we'll announce a meeting place and time, and then they'll come and they'll be asking all kinds of questions. But I thought that we didn't do a real good job. Maybe afterwards I was told that there should have been more public education, because there were so many public issues that needs to be discussed. But we did our best. Myself and I think Ed Pangilinan and Manny Sablon, we were the three that were most active in providing what we thought would be a useful response to the questions that were asked.
I heard you had some interesting encounters in the Senate.
Yes, not only the Senate, especially the House. Let me say about the House representative. Our champion there was Congressman Phil Burton from California, and he had no problem getting it through. As a matter of fact, the interesting part about Congressman Burton's initiative in having the covenant approved was that when it's time for the entire House of Representatives to vote on the covenant, it's our 549. House Joint Resolution 549 was the act, and during the voting, a number of us from the Political Status Commission were there up in the gallery, looking down at listening to the debate. And Congressman Burton told us in advance, at least me and Eddie, that he's going to ask for unanimous consent vote, meaning that if he asks for that and one person objected, then the entire act would be defeated.
Wow, that's pretty scary.
That's pretty scary. But Burton was such a confident a person, that's very influential in the Congress, at least in the House. We were up there looking down, and then all the debate was finished. Then Congressman Burton asked the Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I asked for unanimous consent to vote on the covenant on the HR Joint Resolution 549 instead of hand vote or electronic vote. And then finally the people that were there present all voted unanimously.
Wow.
In the Senate, the Senate is a different story. I was the principal witness there because I was in the Congress of Micronesia, and I was invited by the Senate and the various committees. But the first one that conducted the meeting was the Senate Resources, Energy and Natural Resources Committee, chaired by Scoop Jackson from Washington State. That hearing went real good. It went through okay, but there was a little rumbling there, a little commotion, because when I finished testifying, and Ed Pangilinan also testified in front of this Energy Committee, then Mr. Joe Cruz from Tinian, who was a member of the commission, was the third one to testify. And Joe Cruz gave a very emotional testimony. Very emotional testimony that brought a lot of people were surprised about his testimony, because he started crying. He started crying and while testifying that we need to become a part of the Commonwealth, the U.S., because we love the United States, and during this and that war, some of our people were not treated properly by the previous government, and so we want to become a part of the U.S. And he was crying, but the joke was that Ed Pangilinan gave me his handkerchief to give to Joe to wipe off the tears, but there was no tears coming out. That becomes another story that I thought was funny. But then afterwards, when we got out, he started laughing.
Oh my goodness!
The Foreign Relations Committee was the vice chairman there. The chairman, I forgot his name, Claiborne Pell from, I believe, Delaware, Senator Claiborne Pell. And the ranking member was Charles Percy from Illinois. Now, Claiborne Pell, I gave my testimony, and I don't know whether it is from the congressional record, the hearing, but I don't know, I will forget that, because when I finished my testimony, the first question that Senator Pell, who happened to be against the covenant, asked me, Mr. Tenorio, Senator Tenorio, where did you get the money to travel to the United States? He wanted to find out whether or not, my plane ticket and other expense was given by the U.S. taxpayers. I know what where it was coming from. Mm-hmm. So I answered him very quickly and said, "No, Senator, our people are being taxed also, and the money that I spent, that I was financed to come here to testify, was tax money that was collected from our people." Mm-hmm. Keep quiet. Mm-hmm. Then the next question that he asked me was, "Tell me, Mr. Senator Tenorio, if the Azores Islands voted to become a part of the United States, you think we should give him just like what you're doing now? You want to become part of the U.S. because you voted for it?" Well, that was a kind of double-edged question. So I told him, Senator, we, as a part of the United Nations, we were given the right to be provided self-governing, independence, or other kind of association as part of the United Nations trusteeship agreement, and we happen to be under the administering authority of the United States right after the war. And also I grew up going to school and learning American ways, and even learning ABCD, and Jack and Jill went up the hill. Yeah. You know the story? Mm-hmm. Jack and Jill went up the hill. Mm-hmm. I actually said that because I was a little bit already, these guys kind of try to embarrass me about, so I said it. Said, we have no choice because we're part of the United States under trust territory, and we only know about the American system of government, and we respect the government. So he just kept quiet afterwards. He didn't say anything. Now, the other guy that I encountered with the other people like Eddie Pangilinan and Manny Sablon was Senator Hart. Senator Hart objected to the covenant because he was against the military. together with McGovern from, I forgot the name of the South Dakota or North Dakota, McGovern, and even Senator Kennedy, or Senator Ted Kennedy. We, as you know, we really respect and adore the John F. Kennedy here. As a matter of fact, one time there was a bust of him in front of Mount Carmel.
Mm-hmm. Mount Carmel Cathedral.
Cathedral. Yes. So what we did to lobby for his vote was we took picture of the bust and we frame it. Well, we took it with us to Washington because Manny Sablon has a doctor friend who happens to be the family doctor of the Kennedy. So Manny arranged for us to meet with the doctor and to go up to Hyannisport, the family compound there, to visit with Ted Kennedy because the doctor already arranged, and we were going to bring over the picture of the framed photograph of the bust of John Kennedy, President Kennedy. So we went up there and we were sitting. It's interesting. We were sitting in front of the porch, on the porch of the family compound. After about 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes later, the doctor was sitting with us, and then he looked out and said, "Well, gentlemen, look like we're going to miss our appointment with the senator because he's going out sailing." You know, the doctor knows that Kennedy's the boat, so he said he's going out sailing. You know, we're really disappointed because, we respected very much and honored John Kennedy, and here was Ted Kennedy who objected to the covenant.
Well, Mr. Tenorio, I really want to thank you for making this year's Commonwealth Covenant Day come alive in full color for us today. Any final thoughts before we go?
Yes, like you said earlier, many things were written already in the history books, and I always like to share my own personal experience that were. You cannot mention it in the history books or.
Yeah, in fact, that's what I asked you to do today.
I like to repeat them. I like to tell people about it because this is the God's truth that this really happened.
Yeah,
and I want people to know that having the covenant approved by the United States is not an easy matter. We had to struggle, we had to be insulted, and then having to see some senators that were actually so arrogant. We make appointments, and then they told us that, I'm sorry, the senator's not here. The staffers will tell us that. And the senator was there, but they just lied to us. And I'm saying this because this is the God's truth. So anyhow, what I'm saying is that, to get to where we are now and looking at the future, to get to where we are took a lot of sacrifice. It's nothing easy about us negotiating with the United States. And I'm satisfied with what has been in the covenant, what's in the covenant provision. It's not a perfect document, but it's one that I think we can live with for a long, long time if we do our role also.
Thank you so much for your time today and for your insights and your memories.
Too much.
Our guest today has been Pete A. Tenorio. He's a member of the Marianas political status and a former lieutenant governor of the CNMI, sharing in celebration of the upcoming Commonwealth Covenant Day on March 24th. We wish you all a happy Commonwealth Covenant Day. This has been your Humanities Half Hour. I'm Catherine Perry.
This program was supported by a We the People grant awarded to the Northern Marianas Humanities Council from the National Endowment for the Humanities. Any views, findings, conclusions, or recommendations expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily represent those of the National Endowment for the Humanities or the Northern Marianas Humanities Council.